Do you truly decide what you want? Or are your desires pre-programmed? Are your beliefs your own? Or are they simply borrowed from the world around you? Are you the captain of your own ship, or merely a passenger on a predetermined course? These are not just abstract philosophical questions. They are the gateway to understanding a hidden force that shapes your reality every single day. The uncomfortable truth is this: subconscious manipulation is not some fringe idea. It's a pervasive and often unseen force that dictates much of what we perceive as our own thoughts, choices, and actions. We are all subject to a continuous barrage of influences, operating below the level of conscious awareness, shaping our beliefs, desires, and behaviors without us even realizing it. This hidden force subtly guides our decisions, steers our preferences, and dictates our reactions to the world around us. It's a silent puppeteer pulling strings that you may not even know exist. The first key pattern in this intricate web of influence is the illusion of choice. This is not about whether you can choose, but about what informs your choices. It is the subtle manipulation of your preferences so that your choices are already decided before you even make them. Consider advertising, for instance. You might think you're choosing a specific brand because you prefer it, when in reality, your preference has been carefully manufactured through targeted messaging, emotionally charged imagery, and repeated exposure. It's not about having no choices. It's about having the perception that the choice is yours, when in fact, it was heavily guided or even predetermined by outside forces. This illusion of choice operates throughout our lives, not just in marketing, but also in political narratives and everyday social interactions, creating a framework of seemingly free decisions that are, in fact, carefully constructed. It's not always a conscious or malevolent effort. Rather, these forces are often systemic, unintentional byproducts of societal norms, cultural pressures, and profit-driven motives, rather than some shadowy group pulling all the strings. Think of how social media algorithms, designed to keep you engaged, inadvertently create echo chambers, reinforcing your existing beliefs and limiting your exposure to diverse perspectives. These systems, designed with efficiency in mind, unintentionally steer your thoughts and opinions. Why does this matter? Because without awareness, we're essentially living a life that's not our own. Subconscious manipulation is a direct assault on personal freedom and authenticity. By operating in the shadows, it robs us of the ability to make genuine choices, limiting our capacity for self-determination and preventing us from shaping our lives in accordance with our true values. This loss of control is not just a philosophical concern. It has real-world consequences, manifesting as feelings of anxiety, a lack of purpose, and a general sense of unease that permeates modern society. When you don't feel like you have a choice, you lose a sense of personal agency, and this can have profound impacts on your mental and emotional state. This manipulation has an impact not just on individuals, but on the collective as a whole. It's the root of much social unrest, shaping cultural norms and dictating political discourse in a way that undermines individual autonomy. It's what makes it possible for political narratives to manipulate public opinion, for social trends to emerge seemingly out of nowhere, and for societal norms to become unquestioned dogma. The scale of this manipulation is immense, operating at a level below your conscious awareness. Gaining an understanding of these techniques is crucial for personal liberation. This knowledge is the key to shifting the balance of power from these external sources of influence back to you, the individual. Imagine that you could see behind the curtain, recognizing the subtle ways in which you're being influenced and being able to make truly conscious choices. This is precisely what this video aims to achieve. It's a call to awakening, an invitation to take an active role in shaping your own life. The journey from unconscious acceptance to conscious resistance is possible, and we are here to guide you along that path. Our goal is not just to show you the problem, but to equip you with the understanding necessary to navigate this complex landscape and regain control of your own life experience. To understand how this manipulation works, it's important to briefly explore the concept of the subconscious mind. This powerful processing system operates outside of our conscious awareness, yet it drives most of our beliefs, habits, and behaviors. It's like the operating system of your mind, running constantly in the background, shaping your perceptions and reactions, and building upon programming that has been accumulating since childhood. This is why we are often unaware of our own programming. Our conscious mind is not in control of the subconscious processing of information. Think of an everyday example of driving a car. At first, it requires intense concentration, but after practice, the act becomes almost entirely subconscious. The same process occurs with much of what we do and how we behave, from the way we respond to compliments to the way we approach challenges. This subconscious programming occurs through various methods, including emotional manipulation, exploiting cognitive biases, and the artful use of framing. Emotional manipulation involves using strong feelings to bypass rational thought, while cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment that can be predictably exploited. Framing, on the other hand, is the strategic presentation of information to influence interpretation. Each of these methods is used in advertising, political discourse, and daily life. These subtle methods are often unnoticed, working on a level beyond our conscious awareness, yet powerfully shaping our inner landscape. Much of what we perceive as reality is actually a construct, built upon our subconscious beliefs and social conditioning. This isn't to say that the world isn't real, but that our experience of it is filtered through the lens of our internal programming and the social conditioning we have received from the world around us. Imagine that you're wearing a special pair of glasses that subtly changes the color of everything you see. You might not even realize you're wearing them, believing that the colors you see are simply real, when in fact they are being influenced by the lenses. In the same way, your subconscious programming acts like these lenses, shaping your perceptions and defining the reality you experience. This programming occurs largely through repetition. Societal norms, education systems, and media constantly reinforce certain beliefs and values, creating a kind of mental conditioning that most people experience from a very young age. Consider how common phrases, such as "work hard and you'll succeed," or "money is the root of all evil," are repeated in our culture until they become ingrained as unquestioned truths. This constant reinforcement shapes our belief systems and limits our personal expression without us even being aware of it. Let's return to the initial questions. Do you choose your thoughts? Or do your thoughts choose you? And if your thoughts aren't truly yours, then whose are they? And what are the implications for your personal freedom and your experience of the world? These questions are not merely academic or philosophical. They are fundamental to how we understand our lives. We're often presented with the illusion that our choices are our own, when in fact our beliefs and desires are often manufactured through subtle manipulation. The illusion of choice is far more pervasive than you might imagine, operating on a scale beyond our immediate awareness, with many unseen forces at play. And these techniques don't just exist in media. They're also found in personal relationships, educational institutions, and even in our own self-talk. Understanding this is not only a key to understanding the world around you, it's the key to rediscovering your personal power. The rest of this video will reveal the specific techniques of manipulation, offer practical steps to reclaim your control, and ultimately show you the path to genuine freedom. We will explore these ideas in detail, so that you can see the patterns that have remained invisible until now, and begin to reclaim your own experience. Let's delve deeper into how these subtle forces operate, starting with one of the most potent tools of manipulation: emotional manipulation. At its core, emotional manipulation is a technique that bypasses your logical mind and directly targets your feelings, often exploiting your deepest vulnerabilities for external control. It's the art of using your emotions against you, triggering reactions that serve someone else's agenda. Think of fear-mongering, for instance. By creating a sense of imminent danger or threat, manipulators can make you more susceptible to their suggestions, making you more likely to accept their version of events without critically questioning their motives or claims. A constant state of anxiety can be maintained using this method, because the rational mind shuts down when the emotional mind is triggered. Guilt tripping is another method, where manipulators will play on your empathy and desire to be a good person, creating a sense of obligation that leads to you acting against your best interests. Or think of the manufactured urgency that so many commercials and marketing campaigns use, which compels you to make rash decisions based on a perceived scarcity or time-sensitive opportunity. These tactics, whether used consciously or unconsciously, all have the same goal: to circumvent your critical thinking and directly influence your subconscious behavior. They are not about open, transparent communication. Instead, they're about exploiting your emotional landscape for external gain, and they do so by creating a sense of need, fear, or obligation. In practice, this looks like political leaders using fear to gain support, or advertisers creating a sense of inadequacy to sell products. These methods work so well because they bypass the logical, conscious mind and directly trigger deep, subconscious emotional responses. Consider the news media as an example of the wide-reaching effects of emotional manipulation. News outlets often use sensational headlines and emotionally charged language to grab your attention and trigger a sense of fear or outrage. By focusing on negative events and presenting them in a dramatic way, they can manipulate your perception of reality, creating a sense that the world is more dangerous and chaotic than it actually is. This can lead to increased anxiety, distrust, and a heightened dependence on the very news outlets that are creating these emotional responses in the first place. This kind of manipulation often lacks subtlety. The emotions triggered are often intense and obvious, designed to instantly grab attention and create a strong response. On a more personal level, emotional manipulation can manifest in relationships through tactics such as constant criticism, gaslighting, or playing the victim. A partner might use guilt to control your behavior or create a dependency on their emotional validation. For example, they might constantly belittle your achievements to make you feel insecure, or they might make you feel responsible for their emotional well-being. These techniques exploit your vulnerabilities, undermining your self-esteem and making you more compliant to their demands. In both the media and interpersonal examples, emotional manipulation is about shifting the balance of power through exploiting vulnerabilities and triggering subconscious reactions. They are about creating emotional responses that lead to predictable and desired behaviors. Building upon the idea of emotional manipulation, we must also consider how cognitive biases are used to steer our thoughts and opinions. Cognitive biases are essentially mental shortcuts that our brains use to make quick decisions. They are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment, and while they are a natural part of human cognition, they can be exploited to manipulate our perceptions. Confirmation bias, for example, is our tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This bias makes it easy for manipulators to reinforce pre-existing worldviews, regardless of their validity. It's like having a filter that allows only specific information to pass through, ensuring that your perspective remains unchallenged. The availability heuristic is another cognitive bias, where we tend to overestimate the importance of information that is readily available to us, such as recent or emotionally charged news. This makes us more susceptible to sensationalism and less likely to engage in careful, objective analysis. Framing effects, which we will discuss in more detail later, further exploit these biases by altering the presentation of information to influence our interpretation. These biases aren't individual quirks. They are universal tendencies of the human mind that can be predictably exploited. When combined, these techniques create a landscape where information is interpreted not objectively, but through the lens of our existing beliefs and emotional states. This systematic shaping of perception is a critical factor in how subconscious manipulation works. For example, news outlets or political campaigns regularly use confirmation bias to shape public opinion. By consistently presenting information that aligns with a specific viewpoint, they can reinforce existing beliefs and create echo chambers where opposing perspectives are rarely heard or considered. Think of a news channel that primarily caters to a specific political demographic. By only presenting information that confirms that demographic's worldview, they can make it easier for their audience to accept even questionable claims without a second thought. This can be done by simply selecting specific stories, emphasizing particular elements, or using emotionally charged language. These are not always obvious distortions. Many of them are subtle, operating in the background. They're designed to reinforce your perspective rather than challenge it. This is precisely how confirmation bias works. It makes it more likely that we will accept information that confirms what we already believe and reject information that doesn't, regardless of its accuracy or validity. The key is to understand that our minds do not operate like a perfect mirror that reflects reality back to us. Instead, they are constantly filtering and interpreting information through a variety of biases and shortcuts, which are often exploited for manipulation. Now, let's explore the technique of framing. Framing, in the context of manipulation, is all about how information is presented, rather than the information itself. It's about the subtle art of influencing perception through language, tone, and the selection of which facts to include or exclude. The same data can be framed in vastly different ways to create drastically different emotional responses. A classic example is how a glass can be described as half full or half empty. Although the actual quantity of water remains the same, the framing creates completely different connotations, evoking either optimism or pessimism. This deceptively simple technique has a profound impact on our decision-making processes and emotional reactions. Framing effects highlight how our interpretation of information is not objective, but is heavily influenced by the way it's presented. Manipulators use this to their advantage, crafting narratives that sway your perceptions and shape your decisions without altering the core facts of a situation. They carefully select words, images, and contexts to elicit specific emotional responses, subtly guiding your thinking and actions in a desired direction. This is why the same news story can elicit very different reactions, depending on which outlet is reporting it and how they chose to frame the information. And it's also why political debates are so often focused on the framing of issues rather than the issues themselves. Consider how a company might frame a potential job loss as a restructuring or streamlining process. By using this language, they can downplay the negative impact and create a more palatable image, hiding the human consequences of their choices behind euphemisms. On the other hand, an activist group might frame the same situation as a heartless attack on workers, creating a sense of outrage and injustice. Both scenarios are based on the same events, but the differing frames elicit entirely different emotional responses. Or think about how the same medical treatment can be presented, emphasizing the positive chances of recovery or the negative risk of failure. Even though the treatment itself is the same, the way it is framed will significantly influence the patient's perception and decision. These examples show how the wording, tone, and presentation of information are not neutral elements, but powerful tools that can shape our understanding and emotional responses. Framing effects are not about deception through outright falsehoods, but about shaping our perception through the careful selection of context. It's about guiding your emotional reaction so that it leads to a desired conclusion, even if that conclusion is not the logical or obvious one. These manipulation techniques are all interconnected and designed to work together to create an illusion of choice. The illusion of choice pattern, as discussed earlier, is constantly reinforced by these subtle mechanisms. Emotional manipulation triggers responses that bypass rational thought. Cognitive biases distort our understanding of information, and framing effects guide our interpretations. When combined, these techniques create the perception that our decisions are based on free will, when in reality, they are often heavily influenced or even predetermined. Think about a consumer choice, for example, like selecting one brand of coffee over another. An advertiser might use emotionally charged images, create a sense of urgency, and frame their product as being healthier or more luxurious than its competitors. They exploit confirmation bias, knowing that if you believe in a specific value like organic or fair trade, you will choose that product over another, even if it is more expensive. These tactics combine to steer your choice while making you feel as though it's entirely your own. This illusion of choice is a foundational element of subconscious manipulation. It makes you feel as if you are freely choosing from a wide range of options, when in reality, the options themselves and the way you see them have been carefully curated and designed. It is about manipulating your perception of the available choices, creating the sense that you are the one making decisions, when in reality your decisions were steered, guided, or even made for you. It's not that you are forced into a choice, but rather that the choices themselves and the way you perceive them are manipulated. Now that we have explored these techniques in detail, let's shift our focus to how they are applied in media and society. Media manipulation is an extensive topic and something that impacts all of us daily. Every day, we are subjected to a barrage of information, often presented in a way that manipulates our emotions, exploits our cognitive biases, and carefully frames our perception. Media, from news outlets to social media platforms, uses these techniques to shape consumer behavior, sway political views, and dictate social trends. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's simply the reality of how information is presented in today's world. Think of the news cycle. News stories are selected, framed, and delivered in a way that maximizes emotional response, often creating a sense of fear, outrage, or division. Advertisements, on the other hand, use emotional appeals, create false desires, and exploit cognitive biases to influence purchasing decisions. Social media algorithms amplify certain perspectives while suppressing others, reinforcing existing biases and creating echo chambers where it's easy to believe that your viewpoint is the universal truth. The pervasive nature of these tactics is not accidental. They are carefully designed to shape your perceptions and behaviors without you even realizing it. The sheer volume of messages and media we consume is what normalizes and reinforces this subtle manipulation. It is constant, and as a result, largely invisible. The result of this constant stream of manipulation is that our understanding of the world and our desires within it are constantly being shaped and molded. Consider the common techniques used in commercials. They often employ emotional manipulation to create a sense of lack or desire, often through unrealistic portrayals of how the product can change your life. They might create a sense of urgency, use celebrity endorsements to appeal to your desire to emulate others, or use framing to make a product seem more appealing than it actually is. For example, a commercial might show a family enjoying a product, evoking feelings of warmth and happiness that you associate with the product itself. The actual features of the product are often secondary to the emotional experience that the ad is designed to create. Or think of a political advertisement that focuses on fear, presenting their opponent as a dangerous threat to society. These methods are not about providing information, but about creating emotional responses that will lead to votes. The manipulation is often very subtle, happening below the level of conscious thought. This is how these systems work. They bypass your rational mind and directly trigger emotional responses that are designed to influence your behaviors. And this pattern is reinforced over and over, every time you watch an ad, or read a news article, or scroll through a social media feed. The constant repetition and subtle framing of messages create a cumulative effect, shaping not only our immediate reactions, but also our long-term beliefs and values. The result of this constant exposure is that we are not just consumers of media. We are actively being shaped by it. Beyond the media, we're also constantly being programmed by societal norms and cultural conditioning. Societal norms are the unwritten rules of behavior that dictate how we should act, what we should believe, and what we should value. These norms are constantly reinforced through social interactions, educational systems, and cultural expectations. This creates a kind of cultural programming, where we adopt beliefs, behaviors, and values without consciously choosing them, accepting them as the default state of reality. Think of how gender roles are reinforced in our culture. From the clothes we wear to the careers we pursue, we're constantly bombarded with expectations about how men and women should behave. Or consider the common belief that success is measured by wealth and material possessions. These ideas are constantly reinforced through stories, media portrayals, and social pressure. This type of programming can limit personal expression and prevent people from pursuing their true passions and desires. When these norms are internalized, they become part of your subconscious belief system, limiting your perception of your possibilities. These norms can often lead to a kind of mental prison, restricting individual expression and reinforcing a narrow view of what is possible. Our education system, while designed to impart knowledge, often inadvertently reinforces certain limited ways of thinking. From the earliest grades, we are conditioned to accept authority, memorize facts, and follow established procedures, rather than question the world around us. We are rewarded for conformity and discouraged from challenging the status quo. History, for example, is often taught from a specific perspective, leaving out other points of view and reinforcing a particular worldview. This isn't to say that education is inherently bad, but when learning is not combined with critical thinking, it can easily become another form of subconscious programming. The focus on standardized testing often prioritizes rote memorization over deep understanding and encourages a mentality of compliance rather than encouraging intellectual curiosity. This system can often discourage critical questioning and independent thought, creating a generation that is less able to discern manipulation and less likely to challenge existing power structures. The result is a population that has been conditioned to accept what it's told without questioning its validity, and this is exactly how subconscious manipulation is able to operate. The education system, like the media, is a powerful tool that is used to constantly reinforce certain beliefs and behaviors, often without conscious awareness, creating a continuous cycle of programming. The pattern of programming through repetition is constantly at play in media, society, and education. The continuous reinforcement of messages creates a cumulative effect, shaping beliefs and behaviors over time. It's not just about individual instances of manipulation, but about the sheer volume and repetition of messaging that we are exposed to daily. Think about how advertising works. A single ad might not have a big impact, but repeated exposure to the same ad over time creates familiarity and association. The same is true with social trends. A meme or a trend might start as something relatively obscure, but as it gets repeated and amplified across multiple platforms, it eventually becomes normalized as a popular cultural idea. And think about how common phrases and ideas are repeated, becoming unquestioned truths. These are all examples of programming through repetition. The more that you hear or see a certain message, the more likely you are to accept it as fact. When combined, these messages create a kind of mental conditioning, shaping our beliefs and behaviors, often without conscious awareness. The sheer volume of messaging, combined with the subtle framing, makes it incredibly difficult to resist. It's not enough to be aware of these techniques in isolation. It's important to understand the cumulative effect of these influences and how that constant programming shapes your internal landscape over time. The effect of this constant repetition is that your thoughts and behaviors are being shaped and steered over long periods of time. The effect is a subconscious programming that feels natural or simply the way things are. Now, it is time to shift towards solutions. The first and most critical step is awareness. Simply knowing that these manipulation techniques exist and how they work is a major step in reclaiming your personal agency. Recognizing these patterns, the emotional manipulation, the cognitive biases, the framing, is the first line of defense. When you start to understand that your thoughts and beliefs are not always your own, you create a distance between you and your programming, allowing you to make conscious choices based on your values and desires, not simply the influence of external forces. This isn't about becoming paranoid or distrustful, but about developing a healthy skepticism, a willingness to challenge assumptions, and a commitment to critical thinking. Imagine that you are a detective, investigating the subtle ways in which your mind is being influenced. With this awareness, you begin to see the patterns, the subtle cues, the emotionally charged language, and you begin to see the mechanisms working behind the curtain. This awareness is empowering. You begin to understand the choices and desires that felt so natural were the result of an external influence. And with this knowledge comes the ability to make genuine choices and reclaim your personal experience. The simple act of recognizing that you are being manipulated is the first step to freedom. When you see the game, you can start playing it differently. One of the most effective practical countermeasures to subconscious manipulation is cultivating mindfulness and meditation practices. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment, without judgment, paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and sensations. Meditation helps to quiet your conscious mind, allowing you to access your deeper subconscious thoughts and patterns. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you begin to see their patterns and their origins. You begin to see what is truly yours and what has simply been adopted from the outside world. Regular mindfulness practices bring you into direct contact with the subtle ways that external forces are trying to influence you. It's about taking the time to observe your thoughts and feelings, recognizing them as fleeting experiences, not fixed identities, which creates the space for you to begin choosing what to accept and what to discard. By quieting the noise of your daily life, you can access the deeper wisdom and insights that are always present within you. This allows you to see what is being presented to you by the world and what is actually true. It's in this place of stillness that you can begin to unravel the layers of conditioning and recognize the source of your beliefs, making it possible to make more conscious choices, rather than simply reacting to external triggers. Let's try a simple, introductory meditation right now, and you can do this along with this video if you feel comfortable. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position and close your eyes gently. Take a few deep breaths and focus on the sensation of your breath as it enters and leaves your body. Don't try to control your breath, just observe it. Notice how your belly rises and falls. As thoughts arise, simply acknowledge them without judgment and gently return your focus to your breath. You may notice other sensations in your body, perhaps a tingling, a warmth, or a pressure. Simply allow them to exist. There's nothing that needs to be changed. Just observe. Now imagine that you are watching a stream. Each thought, each feeling, each sensation is like a leaf floating down the stream. You are the watcher of the stream. You are not the stream itself. The leaves appear and they float on by. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to change. Simply be present. And now slowly bring your awareness back to the room, and when you are ready, open your eyes. Even just this simple meditation can be a tool for creating awareness. In the stillness of meditation, you create the space to become aware of your own programming. Another powerful tool for countering subconscious manipulation is self-questioning. By regularly asking yourself questions like, "Why do I believe this?" or "Where did this belief come from?" you can start to uncover the hidden origins of your thoughts and behaviors. This practice allows you to challenge your subconscious programming, breaking down ingrained patterns of thinking and creating space for new perspectives. It's about becoming a detective in your own mind, investigating the origins and validity of your beliefs. When you start to question your assumptions, you open the door to new perspectives, and you begin to recognize the difference between a belief that is truly yours and a belief that you have adopted from the outside world. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, uncovering the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface. The simple act of questioning creates a pause, a space for conscious awareness to emerge, disrupting the automatic programming that shapes much of our lives. Don't be afraid to question everything, including your own biases and assumptions. This practice is not just an intellectual exercise, it's a powerful tool for personal transformation. Self-questioning can be an active strategy that breaks down the deeply ingrained programming that we have been exposed to our entire lives. Start by asking yourself these questions regularly. Is this belief truly serving me? Or what would happen if I let go of this belief? Or if I was to look at this idea from another point of view, what would that look like? These questions, when asked consistently and with genuine curiosity, can reveal the hidden power structures of the mind and how these power structures limit personal expression and free thought. These questions allow you to create a distance between you and your thoughts, giving you more control over your mental landscape. Think of the questions as a crowbar, used to pry open the tightly locked boxes of your mind, making the subconscious conscious. It allows you to see that your thoughts and beliefs are not fixed or permanent, but are malleable and can be changed. These questions open the door to creating new thought patterns and behaviors. Self-questioning, in combination with mindfulness, is a powerful tool for uncovering the hidden sources of our programming and reclaiming our personal experience. When you start questioning what you believe and where those beliefs come from, you begin to reclaim your inner landscape and become the author of your own life story. Finally, it's important to understand that the very reality that you experience may be a construct, a unique creation filtered through your own beliefs, social conditioning, and subconscious programming. This idea isn't just a philosophical abstraction. It's a practical framework for understanding how your experience of the world is shaped. If you imagine that your life is like a computer simulation, your mind is the operating system, and your beliefs, conditioning, and programming are like the code that determines how you experience the world. Just as a computer simulation is created using code, so too is the reality you experience a construct made from the code of your beliefs and conditioning. In this view, manipulation techniques are like programs that are designed to control your inner operating system, making it essential to gain control of your own code. If what you believe to be real is filtered through your personal lens, then that lens can be cleaned, reshaped, or completely changed if you understand it. And just as a computer simulation can be altered or rewritten, so too can the subconscious programming that dictates your life. This realization shifts the focus from external influences to your internal landscape, recognizing your inherent creative power. The awareness that your experience of reality is not an objective truth, but a personally created simulation, is empowering, and it gives you the responsibility to design it in accordance with your true will. This idea lays the foundation for the next part of this video, where we will delve deeper into how you can reclaim your power and become the architect of your own reality. The culmination of this entire journey is the realization that conscious awareness is the ultimate key to freedom. It's not enough to simply know that we are being manipulated. It's about recognizing how and then actively choosing to resist it. Awareness is not some passive state. It is an active force, a powerful tool that can transform your experience. Just as turning on a light in a dark room dispels the shadows, the simple act of bringing conscious awareness to the hidden patterns of manipulation dissolves their power. It's about stepping out of the fog of subconscious programming and becoming an active participant in your own life. Imagine that your mind was once a script being written by external forces, full of predetermined ideas, emotions, and beliefs. Conscious awareness is the act of taking back the pen, of recognizing that you have the ability to rewrite your own story and to fill it with your own authentic truth. This is not about resisting reality, but about choosing it consciously, with awareness, and with the full power of your own will. Let's revisit the illusion of choice pattern. As we have seen, this illusion is a carefully constructed system of manipulation that makes you feel as if you are freely choosing, while your choices have been carefully steered by external forces. The beauty of understanding this manipulation is that you are no longer bound by it. Recognizing the illusion means you are no longer trapped inside it. Once you see that the options you thought were yours are often carefully curated by others, you can step outside of that framework and begin making truly conscious choices for the first time. Choices that are aligned with your values and authentic desires. Consider, for example, a person who always voted for a particular political party because they had grown up in a household that supported that party. Once they recognized that their choice was not fully conscious, influenced by habit and family expectations, they can choose to explore other perspectives, actively researching the issues, and making a choice that is based on their own reasoning, rather than simply following the established script. This is the essence of freedom. It's about waking up from the dream of manipulation and choosing your own path. At the heart of this understanding is the realization that your perceived reality is a construct, a unique creation filtered through your personal beliefs, subconscious programming, and social conditioning. You are not just a passive recipient of life. You are an active participant, a co-creator of your own experience. Your beliefs, thoughts, and feelings directly influence the world you perceive, making you responsible for shaping your own inner landscape and the reality that grows from it. Consider an artist standing before a blank canvas. That artist chooses the colors, the textures, and the overall design. In a similar way, you have that power in your own life, and what you focus on, what you believe, and what you feel determines the world that you experience. By recognizing yourself as the painter, not just the painting, you reclaim your creative potential and step into your role as the architect of your own life. This is not some abstract idea. This is about understanding the true nature of your power. You are the author of your own story, and you can always choose to rewrite it. With this understanding comes a crucial shift in perspective, from one of being manipulated to one of empowerment. The knowledge of these manipulation techniques does not make you a victim, it makes you powerful. This knowledge shifts power from external sources back to you, the individual. It's about recognizing that personal agency and self-determination are not just ideals, they are achievable states. It's about taking responsibility for your own inner world and recognizing your creative power. The power to choose your response, to choose your beliefs, and to choose your actions has always been yours. But without awareness, your choices are made by default. The shift of perspective is a shift of power, from being controlled to choosing, from being programmed to creating. Consider the story of someone who was trapped in a cycle of negative self-talk. Once they became aware of this self-programming and how it influenced their reality, they could consciously choose to change their inner dialogue, transforming their life by adopting positive affirmations and beliefs. This is what it means to reclaim your personal power. It's not about fighting against external forces, it's about cultivating inner strength. Now, let's consider the broader context. Your individual experience of subconscious manipulation is not isolated. It's part of a larger pattern that influences society and culture as a whole. The collective unconscious, the shared repository of beliefs and values that binds humanity, is constantly being shaped by these forces. The understanding of these techniques is the first step in shaping cultural narratives and social norms for the better. Change, ultimately, begins with the individual, but that individual change can have a collective impact. Think about how social movements start with individual acts of courage, those who question the status quo and speak up with a new vision. These movements then inspire others to do the same, leading to a wider cultural change. You have this same power. When you choose to live in alignment with your true self and make conscious choices based on your values, you contribute to a world that is based on truth, awareness, and personal power. Individual awareness is a crucial piece of creating collective change. The illusion of choice isn't just a trick or a method for manipulation. It's also a kind of collective agreement, a shared belief that we all participate in, consciously or unconsciously. We believe in this illusion because we have been taught to believe in it by our families, our societies, and our media. Yet this agreement is not fixed. When you recognize the illusion, you begin to step out of it. You recognize that the world is not something that is happening to you. Instead, it's something you are co-creating. You participate in the creation of this perceived reality with your beliefs and your thoughts, and because that is true, you can change that reality by changing those beliefs and thoughts. It is time to stop believing that you have to choose from the options that are provided to you. The choice is yours. The choice of what to believe, of what to think, and of what to create is always yours, not some external force. Consider our world as a kind of shared dream that we all inhabit together. When we are not conscious, that dream can feel like a nightmare. But when we become aware, we can take part in the creation of the dream, consciously choosing the reality that we all experience. Let's now further explore the simulation theory. This is not just some far-fetched idea. It is actually a framework that can help you understand how you can actively shape your reality. If you think of your life as a simulation, it reinforces the idea that you are not simply living in it, but actively shaping it with your beliefs and your internal focus. Just as a computer programmer can rewrite the code to alter the simulation, you have the ability to reshape your own mind, which then changes your experience. The simulation is not a prison. It's a framework that highlights your infinite potential. By recognizing that the program is running from your own beliefs, you can begin to rewrite those beliefs and thus change the outcomes. Think of it like this. If you find the program is not giving you the results you want, you can always choose to reprogram it. The realization that your mind is like software and your life is like a simulation gives you incredible power, the power to redefine your experience of reality. This brings us to an important transformation. Your limitations are not fixed. Your perceived limitations are simply a result of your own internal programming, and you can rewrite that programming at any time. The nature of who you are is not fixed. It is malleable. You have the power to transform your beliefs, your thoughts, and your emotions, thereby transforming your life experience. Consider that you are an explorer in a new landscape, and if you don't like the terrain, you can always choose to shape it, to change it. The very nature of who you are is not some fixed object. It is in constant flux, always changing, and always able to be shaped by your awareness. This is how you reclaim your power. It is not about discovering who you are, but about choosing who you are. By recognizing that your mind is malleable and your potential is infinite, you can choose to create a life that is aligned with your true essence, and that is based on your unique vision of reality. You are the creator, and it is time to reclaim that power. Let's bring it all together. The manipulation techniques that we have discussed are real, but they only have power when you are not aware of them. The simple act of understanding these techniques neutralizes their impact. It's like a magician revealing how a trick is done. Once you see how it works, it loses its magic. It loses its power. Manipulation works because it operates in the shadows, hidden in the subconscious. But when you bring awareness to the game, it can no longer operate in secret. It's not about being paranoid. It's about reclaiming your power. When you understand that you are being manipulated, you can choose to resist it. It's about bringing these hidden forces into the light of awareness, so they can no longer influence you from the shadows. The simple act of recognizing these patterns means that you can take back the controls and begin to choose your own path. Let's return to the pattern of programming through repetition. As we have seen, these techniques are used to shape beliefs and behaviors over time. However, you can use this very same process for positive self-programming. By consistently using affirmations, mindfulness practices, and conscious choices, you can create new and empowering beliefs and behaviors. Think of the techniques as a tool that can be used for either harm or good. When you understand the technique, you can choose how to wield it. Just as repeated negative messages can shape your subconscious, repeated positive messages can reshape it, making it a powerful tool for change. When you repeat statements like, "I am worthy," "I am capable," "I am free," you're using the power of repetition to program your subconscious with beliefs that support your growth and potential. These practices can literally change the structure of your brain, creating new neural pathways that support your new self-image. And this is where you begin to create a new foundation for your own authentic expression. Let's directly resolve the initial questions that we asked at the beginning of this video. Who is choosing your thoughts? Who is choosing your beliefs? And who is choosing your behaviors? The answer is this. You have the power to choose your thoughts, your beliefs, and your behaviors. That power has always been yours, but without awareness, your choices are made by default, and these choices can be influenced by external forces. When you become aware of the forces that attempt to control you and the methods that they use, you reclaim the power to choose your own thoughts. You can reclaim your mind, and you can choose your own life script through conscious awareness and focused effort. It's not about fighting against the power of the manipulators. It's about recognizing and reclaiming your own. You have the ability to choose your thoughts, and that choice changes everything. Finally, it's important to understand that you are not a victim of your programming. This journey of self-discovery is ultimately a path of empowerment. You are capable of conscious change, and even the most deeply ingrained programs can be rewritten. You have the potential to shape your inner landscape and create a life that is aligned with your true self. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to learn and grow, always moving toward the freedom of awareness. You have the power to rewrite your script, and it's not about fighting against an external foe. It's about creating a new internal reality, a new sense of yourself, and by doing that, changing your life. The power to change, to create, and to choose is always yours, and that is not a theoretical point. It is the key to liberation. Now, what will you create? Now that you have this understanding, now that you understand that you can shape your own reality, what will you choose to build? How will you use this newfound awareness to contribute to a better world? These are the questions that you need to start asking yourself. It's not enough to just understand the manipulation techniques. It's about using that understanding to actively create the life that you desire. The act of creation is the opposite of manipulation. Manipulation is about control. Creation is about freedom, and you have the power to choose. Let the act of creation, rather than the act of manipulation, be the focus of your new journey. Your awareness is the foundation, and the conscious act of creation is the way that you can bring it to life. When you make conscious choices, they not only impact your personal experience, they also have a ripple effect on the collective. Every thought, every belief, every action contributes to the shared reality that we all inhabit. When you choose to live with awareness, with integrity, and with authenticity, you are helping to create a more positive and empowering world for everyone. It's about understanding the interconnectedness of our experiences and recognizing that we are all co-creators of this reality, and we can collectively create a more positive and empowering world with awareness and focused intent. You are not alone in this journey. The act of collective awareness has the potential to change everything. I encourage you to actively engage with the information presented in this video. Try the exercises, experiment with the techniques, and share your own experiences with others. Let this be a catalyst for your own journey of self-discovery. Remember that the journey of awakening is continuous, and there is always more to discover. This is a beginning, not an end, and you have a lifetime to explore the full extent of your power and your potential. You are far more powerful than you think. This is the beginning of a conscious journey, the beginning of a new way of living, and the beginning of your authentic expression. The possibilities are truly limitless, and the adventure has only just begun.